Okay, so this week we're looking at World War I, and this is one of the failings of this selection, for on my part, of the text of Ferguson. Because Ferguson has actually written a book on World War I and a book on World War II, he really does assume that you know what's going on and only looks at those two wars almost in reference. So in the end of this chapter of medicine here, he's going to look at the colonial people's involvement in the war, but he's really not going to talk about the war at all. He's going to do the same thing with World War II, maybe even less so. So in the resources that I post in both of these weeks, what I'm trying to do is give everyone access to what they need. If you have a good hold on World War I, don't feel that you need to look at some of the more basic or primary resources. I don't mean primary in the history way, I mean them in more of the basic understanding of the war way. If you want to go a little bit deeper, start to look deeper into those more advanced resources. But what we need to make sure is that everyone comes out of these next 2 weeks understanding World War I and then World War II, and we won't be able to cover everything, but at least if we're able to relate it to basically our larger study of the past 600, 700 years or so. And so in this course, why World War I is such a turning point for us is that we've almost been building up to this point. Empires growing, we have science, we have industrial revolution, all of these things kind of moving forward, and in this quick 3 years, they at once all fall apart and then make the war possible. So we're able to do things that we're able to kill people in ways that we weren't able to kill people before, and we're able to experiment with ways to kill people. And this is a war that's going to be fought for the first time on a global scale, because everyone is going to bring in their colonies. The United States is now a functioning country. So all of these things are going to happen, and this is a war basically that changes everything moving forward. And a lot of people don't understand World War I. But it is that turning point in history. And as we'll see in one of our last resources, it sets up the conditions for World War II. And so really without World War I, you wouldn't have had World War II. And you know, a lot of things change. Whole maps change after this war. So what we're doing this week is we're going to have some different forums that allow us to approach the material in different ways. Hopefully you had an easier week last week because you were starting to think about your project, and so you're able to dive into this a little bit more deeply. I am going to back off a little bit in future weeks, just so that you have time to be reading your other text. So I do want to honor that time. So I'll try and back off a little bit in the two forums. So hopefully that sets us up for this week, and you are all well. And those of you who are still engaged in this course are doing so marvelously. So I really appreciate the time and effort you're putting into this history. All right, thanks so much.